Social media has changed the world in almost every single way, some ways for the better and some ways for the worse. And football is no exclusion to that absolute truth. For example, you have accessibility to all of your favorite players just like that. On the other hand, you have accessibility to all of your least favorite players as well, which is where we've seen some controversy begin. But we also see social media as an avenue for clubs to post memes and jokes in order to grow their fan base, and it's also a way for little Timmy to go watch the highlights of every single game over on YouTube and come back to Twitter with any propaganda that he wants to push. But the one aspect of football that has changed the most drastically over the course of the last few years has been the way we receive transfer news. And the man that is at the face of it all is Fabrizio Romano. And he's basically the Paul Revere of our generation, giving us the breaking news. The British are coming, the British are coming. But instead of warning us about an impending invasion, he's warning us that the British are spending a little bit too much on a Brazilian winger. Fabrizio Romano knew he wanted to be a journalist from a pretty young age, and growing up in Italy, he also had a huge love for the sport of football. And so he combined both of them, and at 19 years old, got a spot on BBC's Team of the Week. And just a year later, his big breakthrough came. He got insider knowledge about Mauro Icardi, a youth player coming up through Barcelona's academy. And from that, he got a job at Sky Sports, gained a ton of connections with clubs, agents, and players, and that is where it all began. Fabrizio Romano has earned his reputation for being a pretty reliable source of football transfers and news in general. To be honest, I'd pretty much trust him with anything. He could tweet that grandma's having chicken for dinner this weekend, and as long as he includes "here we go" in that tweet, I wouldn't even need to call her and ask. We're just having chicken that weekend. He knows somehow. I don't know how he knows, but he knows. And he just tweeted again. He never sleeps, I swear to God. Exclusive, the guy watching the YouTube video to subscribe to Nitro Football. Here we go. But there is a dark side to the instant gratification that Fabrizio Romano tries to bring to every single step of every single transfer, and it builds this pressure for the players and clubs that are potentially involved in that deal, especially when Romano ends up getting it wrong. And he does sometimes get it wrong. Like in 2021 when he claimed that Liverpool center mid Jorginho Wijnaldum was going to be joining Barcelona. Confirmed, here we go, it's going to happen. And it didn't. Days pass and Barcelona don't even mention their new signing, and then all of a sudden Wijnaldum is holding up a PSG kit, and fans of Barcelona are wondering what went wrong, and the club faces backlash for not signing a player that they never even claimed that they were going to sign. And the fans wouldn't have even known about the connection between Liverpool and Barcelona for this player if it weren't for Fabrizio Romano in the first place. He rose these expectations, and the club really wasn't at fault for that at all. And he's been wrong for some things even more consequential than that, when he also slighted Barcelona fans another time when he said that it was never in doubt and Messi is going to be re-signing with Barcelona. And then coincidentally, also ended up holding a PSG kit. So he has a tendency to really mess with Barcelona fans. And so now we live in a world of football that has a blurry line between journalism and sensationalism, because every single fan has on Fabrizio's notifications to keep up with every single transfer saga. And when their club signs a player for 6 digits, they celebrate it like they just won the league title, which I guess makes sense for Tottenham fans. It'll be the only thing they can celebrate that year. But either way, it seems like these clubs have more pressure during the transfer window than they do during their actual matches. Fabrizio Romano was also wrong about Ziyech joining PSG from Chelsea. The paperwork never got finished, and he ended up getting a little bit of his reputation tarnished. He was wrong about Reguilon joining from Atletico Madrid, going to Manchester United in 2020. Instead, Reguilon joined Tottenham, and then eventually did kind of end up at Manchester United. So I guess he was right just a few years early. And then he also teased Barcelona fans another time when he said that Adrien Rabiot was joining on a free transfer back in 2019, which also just never happened. But this is almost a nitpicking of a very successful career as a journalist, and his reliability is still at like 99%. And so it's a very, very trustworthy guy when it comes to transfers. Almost everything he says ends up being true. But it's not just about the transfers that he ends up calling. It's also about the other news that you could argue about his morals of even reporting on in the first place. A few days ago, Fabrizio Romano got caught up in a little bit of controversy and quite a bit of backlash over social media. Now, by no means is what I'm about to say the end of the world at all, but it does get you thinking about the ethics of what Fabrizio Romano is doing, because when he announced this about Thiago Alcantara and this leak, it wasn't about a potential move to PSG or Dortmund or Bayern or wherever. It was Fabrizio Romano leaking that Thiago Alcantara, the legendary Spanish midfielder, was retiring from football altogether. But this was before Thiago could even announce it on his own social media in the first place to his fans. And then, normally, Fabrizio Romano could just relay that information all across his social medias as well. But he beats Thiago to the punch and he announces it first, and that just doesn't seem right. And after this backlash, one day later, Fabrizio Romano puts out an announcement that he says, hey, guys, out of respect for Toni Kroos, I actually knew Toni Kroos was retiring, and I didn't say anything until Toni Kroos decided to make that announcement himself. I wanted to give him that respect, but it also begs the question of why does Toni Kroos get that treatment and not every single player? Why doesn't Thiago get that respect? I don't think that it's too much to ask for Fabrizio Romano to just let every single player announce their retirement first before he relays that information. In fact, he's already spoiling all of the transfers before a club is able to put out a social media marketing video or an announcement that they've made a new signing. But when it comes to an individual player's retirement from football, I think he should just let it be. I don't think he really needs to beat them to the punch. But this is the transition that naturally we are swaying towards. And Fabrizio Romano has millions and millions of followers for a reason, because the demand for that quick information is there. So no longer is it about the presentation of the information, nor is it about the accuracy of the report. It's not about the emotion or the magic that comes along with it. It's just about knowing as fast as possible. It's about being the first to get that exclusive information out. Right when you know, you just push it right out to the public to make sure that you get the clicks first. And unfortunately for us, it leaves us without a little bit of that magic of football that we once had. But do not be confused. This isn't a Fabrizio Romano hate rant, because change is inevitable. And with change comes the good and the bad. And I still think that Fabrizio Romano brings a lot of great value to the football world. That's going to be it for me today, guys. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe to Nitro Football. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.